Hello, and I hope you're having a great week so far. Today we're playing a little game called Stillwater, and Stillwater is a visual novel that's a mystery visual novel. So it says that where a private investigator gets reeled into a murky mystery entangled in lies, secrets, and a family curse. If you want to give this a go for yourselves, link as always is in the description down below. Should we go ahead and get started? This is a work of fiction. The resemblance to any real-life people is purely coincidental. This game contains depictions of horror, mature themes, violence, and strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm sorry, but I can't stay here anymore, Nina. I feel like I'm going crazy. Calm down, if we can just talk it out. So many strange things keep happening, one after another. Every day there is this damn dripping sound. I thought it was just something leaking at first, but I check every faucet, every ceiling, everything, and still I hear it everywhere, constantly echoing in my ears. Please listen to me. Oh, but the water, that damn water. Water? Yes, it's everywhere. Pools of it are all over the house, and every time I try to mop it up, another will appear. There's no end to it. But it's at night. It's at night when it comes. What are you talking about? I hear someone or something walking along the halls at night. Maybe it's just my grandfather. No, Nina, it's not him. I thought it was, but it's not. But I've seen it. That thing. I only glimpsed at it once, but I'm more than certain that thing was not your grandfather. Ever since that night, I would lock my door and pray it would walk past my room. I don't know what's going on, but I swear it just keeps walking, always walking on pools of water. Sometimes I hear them randomly. Their steps are erratic and faint, but I still hear them. Just this steady pace, up and down the halls. But I think recently, it's no longer like that. What do you mean? Every morning I follow to see where the wet footprints lead. It walks towards something, more clearly than before. It would walk down the halls, climb the stairs and turn corners. All of it, I'd follow. Eventually the trail would come to a stop. And it would stop right by your grandfather's room. His room? If this is some kind of sick joke to scare me away, then please stop. It's not a joke, Nina. I meant it when I saw something wicked going on in this house. That can't be true. I know this is a lot, but you have to believe me. I can't stay here any longer. I'm sorry, Nina. It's okay, I understand. Thank you for taking care of my grandfather up until now. And I'm sorry for all the stress I've caused you. I'll be sure to pay you right away as soon as I... Nina, listen to me. I don't know what's happening around here, but... The woman on the phone cautiously looks around, turning her head constantly back and forth, looking over her shoulder to find, if any, others are listening in. She grips the phone so close to her ear in a vice-like grip, before speaking again in hushed tone. Something terrible is lurking at this house. I don't know what it is, but please leave as soon as you get back. Take your grandfather and just leave this place. Leave? I can't just leave everything behind. We have nowhere else to go. Please, Nina, this place is not safe. The rumors, they're true. The curse is real. My family is not cursed. But Nina, at this rate, you and your family will. Enough! A pause. Cold and sharp tenseness strains the call, as both women, exhausted and stressed beyond their comfort, try to stifle their growing frustrations towards one another. Neither yielding to the other's thoughts, only leaving anger and hurt to fester through the silence. After what feels like a suffocating stillness, Nina finally sighs heavily and responds bluntly to the caretaker. Look, I don't know what you heard or saw, but I can't just leave things like this. Whoever or whatever they are, they will answer to me. I won't let them have their way. I don't have time wasting my energy on this stupid curse. So if you can't help me, then so be it. I'll find a way. Nina, my grandfather is all I have left. He is all I have left. look at that. Diner, 7 a.m. So maybe this has got some horror elements. Amid a foggy morning, there sits a man by the corner of a booth. He drinks black coffee, and depending on his mood, occasionally orders donuts. And today it was just black coffee, so he's not in a very good mood. I swear I've never seen that amount of paperwork in my life. That freaking mountain worth of it. You're a valuable member of our team, Hugo. My foot. I'm starting to believe I was bamboozled into joining their agency. Hugo Laurent, aged 30, takes a good look at his cup of joe and chugs it all in one sitting. He then continues to grumble to himself about last night's grueling work at the office. I really need to find a different job. As he contemplates his poor life choices, he looks out towards the early mist. There's something inherently terrifying about the fog to him, how it engulfs everything and nothing. Even if it disappears, it always leaves behind traces. Proof of it remaining. Even in a quaint little town like this, I can't even run from my fate, I guess. Hugo finally stares at the compiled newspaper clippings he put together. Some of them are from recent events, but mainly all were past headlines of missing personal cases. No matter how many times I see this, it's still just as hard to look at. Fixating case after case, he can't help but remind himself that there is a reason for all of this. An all too personal reason. Seeing strange things comes with a price. In the end, I'm the one doing this to myself. Sounds rough, mind if I join you, Kuya? An annoyingly familiar voice interrupts his train of thought. He slowly looks up to see the one responsible, although reluctantly. Good morning, Hugo. Hugo scowls and turns away from him. He then gathers the files and shoves it back into the binder. Meanwhile, the tall man takes this as an initiative and sits at the opposite end of the booth. He greets the waitress passing by and orders himself the hefty body breakfast special with an extra plate. As usual, the waitress is happy to oblige and goes back to the counter, ready to relay his order. The man then looks at Hugo. He sees the empty cup and the now jumbled newspaper clippings. All the while, Hugo is trying to ignore him. You really should eat something with that black coffee. Not ordering any donuts today? I'm fine, Noah. I'm just not in the mood today, okay? Not even a little. There is a momentary silence between them before Noah disturbs it once more. Oh, too bad for you. I ordered a big breakfast for the two of us. 2? As if the world could grace Noah with an even more perfect punchline, the food arrives. Why the hell did you order for the two of us? Just eat what you want to eat, don't worry about me. Wow, Makang Masarup. Right, Hugo? Are you even listening to me? Come on, we both know that if you don't eat now, who knows when you will, and I'm not gonna let you fade again. So open wide. Noah DeLeon, age 27 and natural-born charmer, is also the only person in the world who lovingly threatens him to eat every day. With a pensive look, Hugo finally gives in and eats a generous spoonful without further complaints. It's good. Right? Good food will always help cheer you up. Damn it, I got swept away again. Oh, by the way, the chief will be out for a business trip. She mentioned it will be a couple of days. When did she tell you this? I didn't hear anything about it. Yesterday, I think. Yesterday? She told me to sort through the cabinets yesterday. She didn't mention anything about a business trip. I guess it was a pretty sudden one. Well, I mean, she did tell me, so to tell you. And lucky me, I know where you go every morning. You know what? I'm not surprised anymore. Well, what do you want to do? We technically have the day off. I'm going to head back to the office. There's a couple of boxes I didn't get the chance to sort out. In that case, I'll come with you. Why, you could just rest for the day. and pass up this opportunity to get to know you better, Kuya? Quit it. After their enlightening banter, the two of them finish their breakfast, pay for their meals, and head to Hugo's car. As Noah opens the door to the passenger seat, he notices a bloodhound sleeping inside. Where's the dog? The big dog stares at the sound of the car opening and lazily stares at Noah. I'm so sorry, big guy. He then closes the door while trying not to make too much noise to disturb its occupants. It looks like he's got a sleep mask on. Colby. At the sound of his name, his heavy-lidded eyes slowly peek to see who calls for him. It is his one and only partner, his human. As if finally realising who he is, or where he is, the old bloodhound stirs up from his sleep, pounces at Hugo and proceeds to wag his tail uncontrollably. I don't think I need to narrate that bit. Good morning again, Colby. Had a nice nap. Colby, 8 years old, Hugo's most faithful and loving partner in crime, has the biggest tendency to just sleep all over the place. Noah, who is witnessing all of this from the backseat, chuckles to himself. He is amazed and slightly defeated at Hugo's sudden urge of energy. It doesn't matter how many times I try, when it comes to boosting his mood, no one can beat Colby. That's because Colby's a good dog. Agency, 7:50 AM. The three head back to the office. The space is just the same as Hugo left it. A decent, organised mess. To his credit for the amount of boxes he painstakingly went through, he believes he did a fair job. Albeit, it could have been better. Wow, you really outdid yourself, Hugo. It looks less crowded. Shut it, will you? I said I was going to get to it. Thanks, boy. Before Hugo could continue to give deserved head pats, he notices someone. A woman stands timidly peering outside from the storefront. She looks a bit frantic, and even more restless with her dishevelled and ill-fitted clothes, drawing emphasis to her already too visible petite frame. The woman tries to grasp the door handle several times, but stops before she could reach it. Her brows furrow, agitated and distressed about something. So much to the point it is preventing her from simply reaching out for help. However, when she finally makes eye contact with Hugo, she immediately rushes in. I'm sorry. I know that the close sign is up, but I saw you come in and Are you alright, miss? I need your help. My grandfather, Okay, so we've got you already. This is the person who we spoke to about in the beginning. Before she can continue explaining, Noah swiftly cuts in front of Hugo and intervenes, in an all too practiced manner. It's okay, miss. We'll hear what you have to say. So please, why don't you sit right over there? Noah gestures to one of the empty seats at the other side of the office. The poor woman hesitates for a moment. She clutches desperately to the strap of her purse, her eyes focusing apprehensively on them and the suggested seat. After mulling over Noah's offer, she quickly glances back and nods. The woman then walks towards the corner of the room and sits at the edge of the sofa. Her posture is wary and tense, giving no sign of comfort for even this brief moment of peace. Can you start by telling us your name? I apologise for earlier. I'm usually a bit more composed than this, but I guess I'm failing at that too. My name is Nina Mortimer. Hello, Miss Nina. My name is Noah de Leon. I am one of the assistants here. That big guy next to you is our other lovely assistant, Colby. And the one brooding over there is Private Investigator Hugo Lawrence. I'm not brooding, I'm just tired. And our chief is away on business, but I think we can still accommodate you. So how can we help, Miss Nina? For just a moment, Nina appeared a bit more lax, more hopeful, maybe even relieved from this warm welcome. However, she once again tenses up, the guilt and shame come rushing back to her, visible by the creases of her brow, as she once again realises why she is here. I need help watching over my grandfather tonight. Tonight? Yes, I know this is a strange request, but my hands are tied on this. It has to be tonight. I'm sorry, Miss Nina, I don't quite understand. Is your grandfather in any danger? I think someone is trying to take him away. Take him? Miss Nina, I think you should contact the police right away. They're far more equipped at handling this kind of situation. No, they're not. I've tried requesting their help, but they've given me the same answer verbatim for weeks now. They would send someone to watch over the manor for the entire day, but at the end of their routine, they would always report back nothing unusual. They saw no one else leaving or arriving at the house other than me or the caretaker. And despite telling them all in detail about the letters and all the strange things that's been happening, there is nothing they can do about it but just sit around until this escalates even more. I can't wait any longer. Any more than this, then it will all be too late. If only I knew who Lewis was. Lewis. She lets out a gasp. Her hands shot out to cover her mouth, realizing she had said too much so carelessly. She tries to avert their gaze, but Hugo stares persistently at her. Miss Nina, who's Lewis? Are they the ones causing all of this? Once more she contemplates, her brows knit closely together as she bites her lip nervously. It's as if the words she wanted to say have suddenly died out, too heavy to even utter. A mistake she can't take back. Before the silence stretches further, Noah speaks to Nina with a gentle and reassuring tone. Miss Nina, I know it's scary. All of the things that you've mentioned to us so far, no one should ever have to experience, especially by themselves. And I assure you we'll listen to all of it. I promise. While the manic eyes search deeply at them, trying desperately to discern any doubt or mistrust on their faces. However, all she sees are people who are willing to give their time to simply listen to her, to actually help her. From this alone, Neela looks to the side where her purse is and opens it. Tucked inside one of the pockets, she takes out a single, slightly crumpled envelope with a pigmented red wax seal pressed in the middle. At a glance, Hugo can tell right away that this letter appears to be a bit more worn out and antique. And yet, despite its delicate form, it remains well preserved, well kept. It's as if the letter itself was untouched by time forever, waiting to be opened. Grandfather had been receiving cryptic letters for the past month now. The letters didn't come with an address or the name of the sender, but this one is different from the rest. This had the name Lewis on it. As she hands over the letter, Hugo notices her hand slightly shaking. Nina is still avoiding his gaze, but he knows she's trying in earnest. But before he could reach his hand, he senses it. A faint shift in the room, unnoticeable to the others, but all too glaringly clear to him. There is something very wrong with this letter. Hugo suddenly recalls the hand away in pain. Like being struck with something sharp, so spontaneously, so memorable, that even if the pain disappears within seconds, a hint of it remains. Something so small akin to a prick from a rose's thorn, or more like a paper cut. Are you alright? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. No, I'm fine, Miss Mortimer. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Hugo stares squarely at the cut. A thin red line starts to form slowly by the top of his index finger, trailing down and stopping just above the first crease. A red so clearly visible, it's taunting. That doesn't look like a normal paper cut to me. Let me get you a band-aid. It's fine, Noah. I don't need one. But really, it's fine. It doesn't even hurt that much. Noah takes one good look at him before sighing exasperatedly and sitting back down in his chair, still eyeing on Hugo's hand. Hugo shrugs and returns his attention back to the letter, but this time, luckily, nothing happens. For it to reach all the way out here with just a letter alone is truly terrifying. Carefully he removes the content of the envelope and unfolds it. At first it looks like any other normal written message. A person named Lewis is asking the other, Henry, to come meet him by the lake at midnight, needing to share something important with him. However, what's eerily striking about this is not the letter itself. Peering at the bottom of the page, A message scrawled, unlike the rest, stands visibly out to Hugo. A message that shouldn't be there. Remember our promise, Henry. When did you receive this letter? Yesterday. And your grandfather, where is he right now? He's currently back at the house with a caretaker. I promised them I wouldn't be out too long. I made an agreement with them, you see. Oh, what sort of agreement? The caretaker we have now agreed to watch over my grandfather, but only during the day. Before nightfall, they would leave exactly at the same time. Before nightfall? I wanted to believe that this whole thing was an elaborate scheme to scare my family away. I know this sounds crazy, but at one point I thought everyone was in on it. The mail carriers, the officers, the caretakers, everyone had a hand in making our family suffer. But this one was different. Up until now, I've never heard anyone by that name. Not a relative or a family friend. They clearly know who grandfather is. If I don't do something about this, I'll lose him too. Just by uttering the words alone, Nina begins to break down. The stress, the anxiety, the fatigue, all of it was finally catching up to her. Her body hunches forward, her hands pressed close to her eyes as she tries to cover the stream of tears running down her face. As an act of comfort, Colby sits closer to Nina while Noah fetches tissues for her, because Colby is very good. Hugo, on the other hand, is puzzled. She said this whole thing has been going on for the past month, but something doesn't add up. And before nightfall, I think there's more to this that she is not admitting. Whatever happened with the letter, I am more than certain. Certain that whoever or whatever Lewis is, they're going for blood. We've got to take the case, right? I wonder if I could have saved before I did that. I'm going to save it now, though. Do you want more tissues? We'll do it. We'll take on your case. For a moment, everything goes still. Their eyes and attention are solely directed at Hugo, whose eyes have a certain glint to them, now unwavering and more determined than ever. Before anyone else speaks, Nina stands up, wipes away any stray tears from her face, and walks up to him. You'll take it? Hugo simply nods. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me. We're glad to help, miss. Nina, please call me Nina. Well, Nina, we'll do our best. Nina smiles at Hugo and Noah in gratitude, her eyes renew with a faint gleam, a hope that maybe things will change for her and her family for the better. However, before heading out, Nina reaches into her bag once more. She takes out a small piece of paper and pen and hastily starts jotting something down. I best be on my way now. I'll let grandfather know ahead of time you'll be coming. We got 4970 Church Street. Also, this is my address. I'll be sure to greet you all when you arrive. And thank you again, truly. She politely bows to them and walks out of the office, already reaching into her purse for her car keys. Hugo watches from his desk as she goes to open the driver's seat. Nina looks back at the office window and takes one last look at Hugo. She waves slightly at him before finally pulling out of the parking lot and driving off. Once out of sight, Hugo turns to look at his cluttered desk. Still messy, but presentable. I guess I'll have to sort these out later. Again. Car, 5:30 p.m. From the ongoing downpour to the quiet hums of the car, they sit in silence. Still miles off their destination, Hugo constantly checks the rearview mirror to see any passing cars. But it was only them on the road. Noah, who usually chats his ear off by now, leans quietly against the car door as he looks out to the passing streetlights, reserved and distant. He hasn't said a word to Hugo since I left the office. Hey, you're a lot quieter than usual. What's wrong? Ha! What a surprise! Have you been looking at me, Q? No, you idiot. You usually just talk a lot, that's all. So, do you miss me talking? Just say it. Do you believe her story? What? Given all the things she told us, do you think she's telling the truth? Yes, I believe her. Or at least, I believe she hasn't lied to us. But you know, I can't shake the feeling that she is hiding something. Like, if she left out certain details on purpose. Also, why did she have to travel this far out of town for a private eye? Surely there must have been another far closer to her home than ours. I just don't know how to explain it. As expected of you, Hugo. Are you making fun of me? No, not at all. I'm just admiring your observations. I didn't want to offend Nina earlier, so I kept quiet until she finished. But her last name caught me off guard. Have you heard about the Mortimers? They're a pretty distinguished family that owned an esteemed fishing company. Well, they used to, I believe. They've yet to name an heir. What do you mean? Shouldn't it naturally go to Nina? It should, but I don't know. From what I've heard, each time they try to name a successor, that relative mysteriously disappears. Gone without a trace, or so anyone thought. Their bodies would soon turn up months after. And you know what's strange? All of them have been labelled as accidents by local news. No foul play, just another unfortunate loss for this family. They've been struck with so many tragedies that, over time, people began to believe they were cursed or something. Cursed. I think I can understand why she wouldn't go to the police again. They most likely thought she was seeing things and went along with the procedures just to keep face. But deep down, they must have thought she'd gone mad. I can't imagine all of this for Nina. And most of all, who knows what we'll find there? Is that why you decided to come with me? Well, partially. I'm more worried about you, though. Me? Why? Think of it this way. I'm the appointed driver. When you decide to do some pretty reckless stuff, I'll be there to drive you to the local hospital. Besides, 2 is better than 1. Exactly. I was fine with Colby coming with me. Yeah, Colby! Well, have you heard that 3 is better than 2? Colby's a good dog. Colby's going to investigate the whole case. If we succeed in this case, it'll be down to Colby. Mortimer Estate, 6 p.m. Passing through the countless dirt roads and steep cliffs, the estate can finally be seen beyond the evergreen. Nestled away from prying eyes, it stands tall, magnificent, and classic. Truly a rarity only afforded to the privileged, and yet, with all its opulence, it looms from a distance. Hugo Noah could only gaze at the sheer scale of the manor. Its grand stature topples easily over the dozens of houses they drove past. Wow, look at the size of it! I could never imagine seeing a house like this in person. It's almost too surreal. Come on, she's waiting for us. Immediately after exiting the driver's seat, a sudden sharp pain weighs heavily on Hugo's chest. Grasping tightly at his coat, he begins to gasp for air. His vision hazes as he leans closer to the car, trying desperately to ground himself. Like a fish drawn out of the sea, he desperately heaves. The air in his lungs, escaping too quickly, burns as he feels his throat start to strain, drawing tighter the more he breathes. But this pain pales in comparison to the feeling far more excruciating. Is it the house? No. Something far more sinister. He feels it. Someone is watching him. A piercing gaze fixed on him, like leering at a bug and waiting to strike. We'll be together soon, Henry. What the hell? Damn it, already? I need to hurry or else. Hey, are you alright? Noah calls out to him, snapping him out of his fixated trance. Colby nudges his head against Hugo, whining with concern over his partner's well-being. So does he get like predictions then on like sort of what's going on within the manor? Well, within any sort of case. I wonder if he's kind of got a little bit, I don't know, maybe like some sort of psychic tendency. I'm not sure. Did you hear that just now? Hear what? That voice. It was so close to my ear. Is everything alright? Oh, I'm fine. Don't mind me. I'm just a bit winded from the trip, that's all. I'd be happy to make you tea at the very least. If it's no trouble. No, not at all. It's the least I can do. Once again, this subtle uneasiness from Nina's surfaces. But before Hugo could get a chance to look further into it, she walked off towards the front porch without saying another word. Are you sure you're alright? You sounded like you were choking earlier. I said I'm fine. Besides, we're already here. We can't back out now. Listen to me. I think you should... Noah abruptly cuts his lecture short as he notices Nina stopping by the front door. She stands by the door, silently contemplating something. It's just like before, but this time she seems even more anxious. Whatever unease she tried to mask earlier became more apparent the moment they walked closer to the front door. I haven't been quite honest with you, Detective. Just like before, as if carefully choosing her next words, she decides that in this situation words are not enough. You'll see for yourselves what I mean. And with that, Nina enters the house, leaving the three to follow behind. Hugo is about to enter through the foyer when he feels a tug on his arm. Don't forget what I told you. If something happens, let me know right away. You'll be the first to know. And with that, Noah releases his grip on Hugo. They proceed to head in, not knowing what awaits them beyond the door. Greeted with a brightly lit hallway, Hugo notes immediately that the interior is just as grand. Adorned with floral accents and antique furnishings, the house itself exudes the word elegance. A classic and rustic charm with the walls and floorings all made from the finest wood. Hugo couldn't help but gape as when he walked in. However, he notices something even more distinct than the splendour. Behind the seemingly perfect veneer, an unsettling air breathes throughout the house, leaving no room for doubt that the inside is far more terrifying than the outside. Please come this way. Bracing themselves, they enter the dimly lit drawing room. At first glance, Hugo could not discern the silhouette situated at the far corner. Only the sparse lightning from the window pierces through a fraction of the room's darkness. However, as they approach closer to the silhouette, Hugo now understands the reason for all of Nina's unsettling vagueness. Grandfather, we have guests. Sitting in the armchair is a very young man, not much older than Hugo or Noah. He is dressed modestly and shares none of the imposing presence of the manor. No, rather, such luxury does not even remotely reflect on the man before them all. It's as if the flow of time had stopped only for him, while the rest had continued changing drastically without him. He does look very young. Just like the letter, timeless, delicate, and jarringly out of place. Staring only at the window, the young man sits there, dazed with little acknowledgement of the people around him. Still motionless, like a doll. Grandpa, these are the people I spoke of. This is Detective Lawrence and his two assistants, Colby and Noah. They're going to help us. Even after introducing them to the head of the Mortimer estate, Hugo and Noah could not help but feel unnerved. The man before them is supposed to be frail and older than any of them. And yet here he remains, forever unchanging, forever young. They've come a long way, so I'll be making some tea. Would you also like some, Grandpa? He does not reply back, nor does he glance at Nina or anyone else in the room. Only fixates his gaze on the rain, nothing else. I'll be sure to make a cup for you too. She then timidly gestures to Hugo and Noah back to the foyer. Bearing more questions, the two follow Nina outside. But before they leave the drawing room, Hugo takes one last look at the young man. There is an all too familiar air about Henry Mortimer. His eyes, they're similar to his own. Whatever he must be longing for, Hugo knows it will never end well. Nina, that man. Yes, he's my grandfather, the one I asked you all to watch over. I know this is hard to believe, but Nina draws something out from her pockets. It's an old picture of a handsome man with slicked back hair, wearing the finest of suits. The gentleman in the picture has a different air to him, one of wealth and power, none of which reflects at all on the current Henry Mortimer. It's almost as if looking at two different people. This isn't much to go by, but believe me, they are the same person. Then why does he look so young? It happened a few nights ago. I was on my way to get a cup of water when I heard a loud thud coming from my grandfather's room. I was worried that something fell over, so I went to check. When I opened the door, I found him collapsed on the ground. I rushed to help him up, but when I did, he looked so different. He wore the same clothes that my grandpa wore that night. And his face, I recognized his face. He looked younger. So many things were rushing through my head at the moment. And I knew he felt familiar to me. I know it sounds bizarre the more I talk about it, but that's what happened. That was also the same night I found that letter. It was next to him, already opened. I'm sorry again for all of this. No matter who I went to, they either said something was wrong with me and my family. With everything going on, maybe they're right. The pools of water, the letters, Lewis, and now this. I've been ignoring the signs for years and just blindly hoping that things can get better if I try finding solutions on my own. But that's not enough anymore. Maybe my family really is cursed. No, they're not. Curses aren't real. Detective? I think we easily get too involved in believing that sort of thing exists. In truth, the ones who fixate on it make it their reality. Rumors, doubts, lies, all of those things are what they want to become real. Deep-rooted emotions like that can't possibly be healed or fixed right away. But like a curse, those emotions drag other people down with them. Personally, I think you were caught up in all this. But I assure you, we'll see this through. For you and Mr. Mortimer. Thank you. Good. Now, our first priority is to find out more about Lewis. Nina, the letter you showed us back at the agency, do you have it with you? Yes, it's here. Do you mind if I borrow it for a bit? I'll be sure to give it back. Of course, but what are you going to do with it? I've searched everything on that letter, and I still couldn't come up with clues. I'll be using it as reference or a guide, if you will. I'm afraid I can't discuss too much of the process. Trade secret and all. Ha ha ha. Of course. I'll check upstairs. Noah, you and Colby check the ground floor. Got it. Before they leave to do their own investigations, Hugo grabs a hold of Noah's shoulder. He leans in, close enough for Nina to not hear. Keep a close eye on Mr. Mortimer and Nina. Especially Nina. I don't want her to be dragged any more than she already is. So whatever happens, keep her safe. Hugo, you... Fine. But remember, yell for me, okay? I know. Thank you, Noah. I'm counting on you. You too, boy. With a final nod at them, Hugo then goes towards the staircase and heads upstairs. Noah stares for a moment longer at Hugo's back before he disappears into the first floor. He then turns to look at Colby. Well, it's time we get to work. Right, Colby? Investigation start, okay. The objective is to look around the area for objects to precede the story. Use the arrows or the arrow keys to move to a different area. Outlines will appear on a clickable object. On the top right is the hint button. Click it will highlight an object you missed. Okay, first I want to save it. Okay, so can't look at the phone or anything. Okay, so we got the outline. So yeah, good boy, Colby. Okay, so should we look at him first? Mr. Mortimer still sits motionless by the corner of his room. his gaze never to leaving the rain. Okay. I did wonder his eyes were green as well, so I wonder if he's like possessed by something, maybe? I guess we'll go this way first. I've noticed all of the paintings and the pictures are all covered up, which is interesting. Oh, look at this. A large bookshelf stands close to the entryway. It contains a couple of photo albums and a few phone books. Okay. A delicate arrangement of violets and white roses. They seem to be fresh and fairly new. Or the phone. An old rotary dial phone. It looks like it's still in good use. Okay, so we know if we're in danger, we've got a phone to use there. Can I go any more this direction? No, okay. Yeah. Okay. Frames decorating the walls are covered in white sheets, veiled with a thin lining of dust on top of each one. Wow, there are so many paintings covering the walls. Are there more like this all over the house? Yes, my grandfather commissioned many back in the day. But sadly he doesn't do that anymore. Nina, I can't help but notice the paintings are covered. How come? I did that. I covered them up for my grandfather's sake. For his sake? Yes, he was pretty obsessed with them, you see. There were times when he would mutter to himself and would just stare at the paintings for days on end. It worried me so much I had to cover them all. Since then he hasn't stared at any of them, he just sits quietly, looking outside. I see. About the paintings, I also noticed they all have a similar theme. They all had water in them. I know this isn't a coincidence since you've told us before, but if there's anything you know, anything at all, then please tell me. Now, I can ask you a question first. Sure, go ahead. Do you believe in mermaids? I didn't expect her to say mermaids. Mermaids? I don't suppose I do, why? Casting her gaze to the floor, Nina anxiously fidgets and tightly clasps her hands together. She then briefly sighs and continues. Well, there's this story, or rather, more like a fairy tale, that my family has passed down. A fairy tale? Yes, well, it feels like one to me. It was about a fisherman who fell in love with a mermaid. Every day and night, he would go out by the shore to gaze at her beauty, but one day she vanished, leaving him confused and heartbroken. Determined he would sail many seas for a chance to see her again. Sailing from coast to coast, new lands beyond, and back he would go. Not long after, fortune followed him all throughout his journey and made him one of the wealthiest and most highly respected in his village. However, despite all the wealth he gained through his travels, he never found the mermaid again. She would only be a dream, nothing more. And that's the end of the story. It doesn't end happily, but I guess there was a lesson behind all of it. I just never understood it. What do you think happened to the mermaid? I know it's an exaggeration, and yet I can't help but wonder. It's hard to say. I just feel bad for both of them. Huh? To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of sad endings. If it were me, I would wish the fisherman and the mermaid could see each other again. Or at least, that's what I think. Even if they weren't meant to be with each other? Yeah, I think so at least. I wouldn't want to imagine going through a journey all by myself. It's hard being alone. A journey all by yourself. Mortimer Estate, 11:30 p.m. Are we upstairs now as Hugo? After searching vigorously through each of the rooms, he knew his findings would eventually lead him here. This is it. Hugo walks towards the nearest lampshade and switches it on. Dimly illuminated, he sees the extent of how lavish this part of the house is. From the customized window drapes to the vintage furnishings, everything here exudes that extravagance. But much like the interior Hugo has seen so far, he finds this one in particular reeks of it. Plastered from wall to wall, a gloom lingers. It's as if the room itself is mouldering, despite its preserved nature. Okay, so let's start over here then. Got a picture here? An old photo of a lost time. A sweet summertime memory of a little girl with her beloved grandfather. Okay, what else have we got? Got papers scattered. Scattered pieces of paper all forgotten, lie waiting on the cold floor. Heavily etched markings are found, scrawled all over the papers. A leather-bound journal rests on the edge of the table. Its pages are torn out so haphazardly that the binding itself is starting to fall out. A pristine pearl-white tea set sits patiently by, untouched and unused for quite some time. Atop the fireplace, unblemished and marked by time, hangs a curious and familiar painting of a beautiful woman floating on water. Okay, so it's continuing the water theme throughout then. Okay, we've got a chest here at the end of the bed. Just wanted to check if there's anything else maybe. Let's check the chest because that's the first thing we saw. A classic wooden chest lies at the foot of the canopy bed. Its lock still firmly holds, safeguarding whatever is inside. I wonder if we can get the key to that anywhere. So this is gonna be the master bedroom, right? A meticulously organised set of academic books, ranging from non-fiction to geography, are all on display. However, hidden away behind a vast collection are some children's fairy tales, all carefully kept. I need to hurry. I don't want to stay here for too long. I don't know if we found anything interesting there. Mortimer Estate, 11:50 p.m. He searches and searches, and still there is no sign of Lewis. To Hugo, even if there is a fragment, a singular thread to that person, to their real selves, he could find them. But there is nothing. Not one thing pertaining to him. It makes me wonder if the grandfather met a mermaid, but it was actually maybe like a merman, and the merman was called Lewis. And now that he's kind of older, it's sort of like a return to me that you've lived your life. It's as if the thought of Lewis barely exists at all. What is going on? I clearly sensed that presence from before, but it's gone again. Damn it, I wish I had more time. No, calm down. It has to be here. I just need to focus. He ponders again, retracing every step and every little detail, hoping that he overlooked something. Yet all he knows is that one tangible thing that connects him, that tethers so closely to this space, and most of all, to Henry, is the letter. Words of promise, of love, all delicately etched onto a page, but tainted with a powerful and dark emotion that has been festering for far too long. Tainted. From the very start of all this, Hugo believed that whoever Lewis was, that they were the ones responsible. He thought he could find them and convince them to stop their haunting for good, to bring them peace and to move on. But however, that isn't the case anymore. The natural force that binds everyone so closely together in this family is not the cause of an angry spirit. No, it's something far more devious than that. As he takes the letter out from the envelope, he notices a change within. Bearing no foreboding threat at the bottom of the page, it looks just like a regular letter, or rather, what it once was. A sad and tragic love. If you can't come, then I understand. Things have gotten more complicated with your mother ever since she found out about us, right? I'm sorry, Henry, for everything. It hurt to see you so torn up like this. I would never hurt you or drag you along with me. If this has to be our farewell, then can I ask you one last favour? Could you keep my lockets? I know this is selfish of me, but I'd like for you to have it. I'd be happy to know it's safe with you. My heart will forever be yours, Henry. With love always, Lewis. So, this was the true letter. A small warmth emanates from the paper, wrapping closely around his fingers, quiet and soothing. The fragment that Hugo was searching for. Lewis, I'm sorry. You were also a victim of all of this too. Please, if you can hear me, I need your help. Without warning, the sound of a click can be heard across the bedroom. Is it the crates? Is it the box? As if something unlocked itself, Hugo turns his head towards the sound and sees the chest. Unlike the other furniture, its dark and rustic features have not been maintained well, left to rot on its own. Suddenly, he stops at the sound of a voice, a sweet voice whispering to him, beckoning him towards the fireplace. Come here, my sweet boy. I don't think we should go to the painting. No. Stay focused, Hugo. I won't let it get to me. Preparing himself, he heads towards the chest and opens it. Inside, scrambled together, are bunches of notebooks and small trinkets. Hugo continues to rummage through when he stumbles across an old newspaper article. Young man found dead by the lake. An unidentified young man was found in the morning of 3 days prior to his death, according to the police. Ruled as a suicide, police have claimed that the troubled youth drowned himself. This is certainly a tragic loss, an unfortunate event indeed. Comments. No claim of his body has been made yet. Lewis. By the corner of Hugo's eye, he spots a bright glint buried beneath the clutter. He reaches for it. A locket of brilliant gold shines unblemished, retaining a timeless luster. Inside it safeguards a picture of a young man with glasses, smiling brightly. This must be the locket he was talking about. It's so pretty. It's surprised it still shines like this. And this picture. Did he put this here? No, it might have been Henry. But why would he store it away like this? What should I do? I think I'm going to take the locket, because it might be that we need to show it to them. I should probably hold on to this for now. Take it to him, please. Lewis? A gentle but distant plea echoes in Hugo's heart. A forgotten ache of yearning and regret grips him deeply. Feelings not of his own start to rise like small ripples on a pond, wanting to be found again and remembered. Don't worry, I'll bring it to him. I'll make sure of it. Hugo is about to put everything back into the chest when he feels a wet and cold sensation crawling up his leg. What? Water? A pool of water relentlessly spreads across the floor, already seeping into the chest. Damn it, no! Suddenly, the lights shut off. A scream is heard, followed by a myriad of shouts. Hugo is about to call out to Noah, but stops at the sight of pale feet before him. Looming over him stands a tall and ominous figure. His face is shrouded in complete darkness, devoid of any human emotion. I wonder if the family killed his lover, and they ruled it as a suicide because they had so much power. And this is the lover. It appears as a young man, but Hugo knows that it's far from that. Not far from it. No, this very thing is trying to imitate a human form. Trying to be human. Hugo could only stare back. Paralyzed with fear, he's forced to watch the horror as it slowly creeps towards him. It's just like before, the sensation of someone staring at him from within. But this time, It's drawing nearer, inching ever so closely. The words to call out to Nick Colby or Noah fail to reach out. Lodged in his throat, he struggles in pain. With his breathing shallow, he tries to force his body to move. And then it stops. Looking down at Hugo, filled with nothing but malice and contempt, it speaks. Oh God. Don't get in my way. All of a sudden, the door to the bedroom slams shut and the entity disappears. The tension from his body finally releases its agonizing grip, and he gasps desperately for air. His vision blurs and his breathing is haggard. He staggers towards the door. He yanks at the handle several times, but it's tightly jammed. Noah! Colby! To his dismay, he's only greeted with silence at the other end of the door. Damn it! From a distance, he faintly hears the sounds of Colby's relentless barking as it gets further away from the house. Hugo rushes towards the window. He tries to pry it open, but just like the door, a heavy force prevents him from doing so. Like being underwater, his movements slow and drawn out, as if being dragged down by that thing. Forget this! Frantically looking around the room, he spots a nearby chair. Without a moment sooner, Hugo grabs the chair and starts to strike the window. Bit by bit, the window cracks get larger with each blow, splitting off into smaller pieces. What the hell is this thing made of? Still trying to catch his breath, he musters all the strength he has left for a final blow. Damn you, just break already! Clearing out the remaining glass shards, Hugo peers his head out to see any railing he can grab hold of. However, he discovers instead that the wall adjacent is covered in ivy. Despite how heavy the rain has drastically become, he reaches out for it, grabbing a handful of the vines. Carefully, he climbs out the window, gripping tightly and making sure he doesn't lose his footing. Yet to his luck, the patch of vines he clutches starts to tear away from the wall. Out of desperation, he struggles to find his grip on another, but fails when his hands slip out of reach. Sugar! Clamoring wildly, he loses his grip on the ivy. He crashes down into a thicket of bushes. Air forced out of him, he heaves uncontrollably, trying to even out his breathing. But even that is laborious. An immense pain spreads across not only his back, but his entire body. God, I'm getting too old for this. Although his body screams out in pain, he forces himself up. There is still time. I can do this. I have to do this. With staggering feet and haggard breathing, he makes his way to the place where it all started. To the lake, where this tragedy starts and ends. I thought we were going to go give the necklace to the grandfather. The locket to the grandfather. Finally entering through the park, Hugo calls out to Colby and Noah. Colby! Noah! Where are you? He hears faintly the sounds of barking and echoes of people yelling in the distance. He rushes towards the echoes, guiding him through the downpour. With his heart racing and blood rushing to his head, he finds his way to the lake. Drawing closer, he sees Nina giving chase to her grandfather. Unfortunately, she doesn't get so far, as Noah stops her. Grandpa, stop! Grandpa! Let me go, my grandpa is... No, Nina, it's dangerous. You'll get hurt too. I don't care, I don't want to lose anyone anymore. It's that at that instant, Hugo trudges against the water, pursuing in Nina's stead. Hugo! No, don't! Please falls deaf to his ears. Not even the whines and worried cries of his partner could make him turn back. Determined, he forges ahead. Nearing the deeper end of the lake, he sees Henry Mortimer gazing directly at the abyss. He looks even more frail and dishevelled than before. It's as if all the life he's lived up until this point has begun to fray, draining every ounce of himself and surrendering it all to the lake. Before Henry could lean in, Hugo reaches out and tugs at his arm. Mr. Mortimer, listen to me. Nothing is waiting for you down there. So please, come back to the shore with me. Motionless and unresponsive, he stares deeply into the water. The haze over his eyes is still obscure and persistent. There are so many things we cannot afford to lose in our lives, and you're one of them. To Nina, you're all she has left. She needs you, Mr. Mortimer. Hugo felt it, a slight jolt from Henry's arm, as if stirred by the mentions of Nina. He slowly turns to face Hugo. Nina. However, just as cruel and violent as the storm, Henry jerks back, wrenching his arm away from Hugo's hold on him. No, all of this is my fault. If only I got to Lewis sooner, then none of this would have happened. He was waiting for me, was patient with me. And yet for all the things he's done, I chose my family over him. But he's gone because I didn't pick him. Henry backs further away from the shoreline. Mr. Mortimer! His manic eyes never straying away from Hugo as he keeps his distance from him. Lewis, I'm sorry. I was the one who dragged you into this. You deserved so much better, so much more. And I wished. Henry struggles over his words. He clasps tightly to his shirt, his throat dry and taut from all that he's bottled up. From all those repressed and sunk years of just waiting. Waiting for this curse to finally take him. I wish I'd gone with you that night, Lewis. Sir, even if you covered that wish, it wouldn't resolve anything. Not for you or Lewis. I've read what he wrote to you all those years ago. He understood if you didn't want to come see him. But the thing is, Mr. Mortimer, Lewis never thought anything less of you. He said so in his letters to you. His letters? For the longest time I wanted to believe he hated me for that. Resented me for that choice. Or at least, I thought it was easier for me to think that way. How long has it been since I talked about him? It's been too long, sir. But that's why. You don't have to shoulder all of that pain by yourself anymore. We can talk about it. About you and Lewis. All of it. Together. Hugo extends not only his hand to him, but a promise. A promise that Henry had yearned for so long. A way to forgive himself. He hesitates at first. What fool believes in a deserved forgiveness? Such a thing doesn't exist. And yet, despite everything, Hugo still reaches out to him. To a stranger. Maybe he can be forgiven. Just as he was about to reach out for Hugo, a hand slithers around Henry's instead. Oh no? Its arms unnaturally contort around him, while its head perches on his shoulder. This thing, this Lewis, is no longer pretending to be human. With piercing cold green eyes, it glares directly at Hugo, mocking him, cursing him, wishing nothing but despair. We can be saved. We can be forgiven. There is only one true way out of this. I will share with you the most happiest of endings. No? Oh no. Okay, can we get to him? Before Hugo could reach out for Henry's hand, he disappears into the water. Mr. Mortimer! Without hearing the anguished cries and desperate pleas, Hugo dives after him, into the abyss. Well, we don't know what time or where it is. Plunging into the icy waters, Hugo feels shocks running rampant throughout his body, like spikes continuously piercing from his legs to the tips of his fingers, fiercely and unyielding. His chest tightens, and his heart races as he begins to kick his legs, hoping whichever way he goes, he'll find his way to Henry. Swimming deeper and deeper in, he sees faintly a figure slowly descending into the darkness. As he finally gets close to Henry, long snake-like arms stretch across the void and grab Hugo's neck, violently squeezing all the air out from him. He tries desperately to wrench its hands away. But with each struggle, Hugo's movements begin to weigh heavier and heavier. Lewis. Where are you, Lewis? It's looking for Lewis? Digging deep into his coat's pocket, he grasps tightly in his hand the locket that Henry has kept and had for long forgotten, holding it out as it shines ever so brightly in the dark. Ah, there you are. It releases its grip on Hugo and instead reaches out for the locket. Taking this as a chance, he drops the chain and kicks it with all his might to grab Henry's arm. With his heart and body screaming in pain, he swims desperately to the surface. Almost there. I just have to. As the lights from the surface begin to blur, Hugo makes one last attempt to reach for it. With his limbs worn out and his energy spent, this is all he can do. Before he loses consciousness, he notices a figure swimming towards them, getting closer and closer. And then everything fades to black. Drifting along with what feels like an endless sea, Hugo courses through wave after wave, not knowing where he's going or caring for that matter. All he knows is he's very, very tired. How long has it been since he had a good night's rest? It's been too long. Maybe I should take that rest now. I'd like that so much. I agree that you deserve it, but not here. I'm sorry for startling you. I just wanted to see you one last time before I go. Lewis, you've done so much for me and Henry. I can't thank you enough. No worries. I want to thank you too for watching over me. And also, I want to apologise for my remarks from before. I really thought I'd figured things out once I found you, but you know how that turned out for me. It's alright, really. After all this time, I didn't think anyone could hear me. Especially Henry. Lewis. I was worried about him for a long time. He always wanted to keep me away from his personal struggles, to keep me safe from them. But I was too stubborn for my own good. Honestly, I don't regret it. Any of it. Even if I could no longer reach out to Henry, fate weaved its thread back to you, our tangent connecting us once more to this very moment. And for that, I am forever grateful to you, Hugo. You're welcome, Lewis. From a far off distance, Hugo hears a voice crying out to him, beckoning for him to return. Well, they're waiting for you. I guess they really are, huh? Take care always, Hugo. You too, Lewis. With his eyes closed and his senses still returning, he feels the constant tugs and licks of a certain bloodhound, whining as he tries to wake up his partner. Hugo! He also hears another familiar voice, too annoyingly close for comfort. Eyes shut right open, he jerks up. Confused, Hugo looks around before he coughs up the remaining water in his lungs. Are you alright? Noah starts to pat his back while Colby continues to whine over Hugo. What happened? Where's Mr. Mortimer? He's safe. So is Nina. They're both okay. The police and the ambulance should be arriving soon. Thank goodness. Isn't there any more you have to say to me? Instead of thank goodness. I swear you don't listen to a damn word I say. I'm sorry, Noah. Exhausted, he lets out a sigh. He then continues to pat Hugo's back aggressively when someone approaches them. Detective Laurent? Oh, Nina. There's someone I want you to meet. Behind her stands an elderly man. Frail in stature, he timidly looks to the side pensively as he ponders to himself. Although his youth has long faded, his eyes are what catches Hugo's attention. They're no longer a piercing and vicious green. Only eyes, just like Nina's. Hello, Mr. Mortimer. Detective. I never got a chance to say goodbye to him. I was thought about it every day. What if Lewis lived on in this world? What if he stayed a little longer with me? It's because of that constant mindset I dragged everyone down. And I kept hurting not only me, but Nina especially. I was the one who kept hurting her, the one to blame for all of this. But you, someone that I've never met, still went out of your way to save me, not knowing my burdens or faults. Thank you. Hugo reaches out to Henry and smiles brightly at him. It's my pleasure, sir. Before he lets go, Henry tugs at Hugo's hands one last time. I hope that someday you will overcome it too. The next day, 8 AM. Well, good morning, Hugo. You're bright and early. Morning. With much fervour and haste, Hugo resumes writing on his notepad, although by closer inspection, he looks like he's going to combust any minute. Are you up writing a report? Without looking up, Hugo responds back. Yeah, for the most part. You still need to write yours too. I will, but since I haven't had breakfast yet, and I don't like eating by myself. Let me guess. 2 is better than 1. Bingo! Wow, Hugo, you're really catching on. I'm so proud of you. Should I will you? I swear, if only I hadn't fallen off from a goddamn window, maybe my report would have been shorter. Before Noah could begin to cut the bacon, he paused at the mention of Hugo's report. Oh yeah, by the way, mind telling me what happened to Mortimer's window? I broke it. Well, that's obvious to me. What I don't understand is, why is it broken? Do you know how much it costs to repair a window like that? I know. It was really dumb of me. I'm sorry. Besides, I told Mr. Mortimer about it before we left. Honestly, I was expecting an earful from him. And also the bill. And, surprisingly enough, he said it was okay. Lucky us, right? So, what? You just called it a day after all that? Thank you so much, Mr. Mortimer. You broke it, you pay for it. Would you chill? Of course I'll pay for it. But each time I kept insisting, he just shrugged it off. Said that we already went through a lot for them, so this was nothing in comparison. You know what? He's right. After all we went through, we deserve at least a nap. But before he could walk away, he stops and sees a familiar person walking towards the storefront, carrying something with her. Good morning, you two. Just barely a foot through the door, a certain bloodhound stirs up from his resting spot and makes his way towards Nina, tail uncontrollably wagging. Good morning to you too, Colby. Nina scratches behind one of Colby's ears, making his right foot unconsciously move on its own, scratching an invisible but desirable spot for him. Good morning, Miss Nina. Morning. What brings you here this time round? Is everything alright with your grandfather? Yes, he's doing pretty well actually. Even better than before. We talked so much last night, I hardly slept at all. But honestly, it's been a while since I last spoke to him so freely like that. I hardly felt tired at all. That's wonderful to hear. But there is something else I wanted to ask for both of you for. To put it bluntly, I need your help. If you two aren't busy, I'd like some company eating these. Inside a clear plastic bag are a stack of 2 boxes. She opens the box on top and reveals a colourful array of neatly decorated donuts, all lined perfectly. No cramped or squished spaces. A work of art in Hugo's eyes. Wow, so pretty! Donuts! They look so delicious. We're more than happy to eat this with you, Dina. There he goes again with his donuts. But yes, please join us, Miss Nina. We were just about to have our breakfast too. Weren't we, Hugo? Always so brazen in front of others. You do make it exceptionally easy for me. You both have such great chemistry with each other. On second thoughts, I'm way too tired for this. I'm gonna have to apologise in advance for this, Nina. But truthfully, I've been running on last night's coffee and I'm about to pass out any minute now. No worries, honestly, I think a little break time sounds like what we all need right now. Thanks. Hugo puts down his pen and proceeds to head for the couch. Colby follows after him. Would you like to join us, Miss Nina? I would love to. I guess we'll save these for later then. Yes, please do. Come on, it's nap time. Noah sighs heavily before setting down the food on his desk. He then gestures Nina towards the sofa, in which she happily takes his offer and joins them. I'm getting old. I mean, you are old. Shut it. This is really nice. Oh, good boy, Colby. Come here. Nina quietly coos at him and begins to scratch at the back of Colby's ears once more. Hugo leans a little closer to Noah, his voice above a whisper, but close enough for Noah to only hear him. You know, I'm glad that you came along yesterday. Oh, what's this? Are you getting chummy with me now? Call it chummy or whatever, but I really mean it. If you hadn't have saved us back there. Like I told you before, I'll be there whenever you get yourself into this reckless stuff. Besides, didn't you say this was nap time? Get some rest, you deserved it. You too. A calming silence fills the room as they bask under the morning glow. No big parties or celebrations, just each other's company and sharing this small reward, a small and warm comfort. And we got the good ends. Not bad. So that was Stillwater. If you want to give that a go for yourself and see if you can get those other endings, there's probably some more spookier bits in there that I'm not aware of. Go ahead and use the link down in the description. But I think that was a really good little visual novel. I really liked the way it was written. Obviously the art was beautiful for it. And it's just sort of nice to sort of have like a unique sort of mystery story with that sort of like paranormal element, but not like massively like shoved in your face. But yeah, I really liked this and I hope you guys liked it too. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.